Every day we buy vast quantities of food. This can be meat, dairies, vegetables, drinks. We feed our kids and elders with it, but do we really think about what we are consuming? Do we question our buying behaviour in the way that we really should? According to a survey carried out by the BBC, the Muslim community represents 5% of the population, and yet we eat 20% of the meat sold in the UK. The Meat and Livestock Commission estimated that roughly 25% of lamb in Britain is consumed by Muslims. That amounts to around 200,000 sheep per week. In addition, Muslims consume about 5 million chickens weekly. That's a lot of meat. Do we appreciate the significance of eating pure food in light of the Quran and Sunnah? Are our prayers accepted if the food we consume is impure or worse, haram? SOS Ummah will inshallah address these issues. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to SOS Ummah. Dear brothers and sisters, today Muslims all over the country are buying chicken, lamb and beef without properly investigating if it's really halal. Will simply word of mouth or a handwritten halal sign or even a certificate give you the comfort and belief that you're eating the right stuff? What if you found out that there is a shortage of halal meat, or if meat labelled halal really isn't halal? Would you start to think twice about the food in front of you? As a Muslim, are you really familiar with the conditions which make any food acceptable to consume, or are we simply sticking to traditional perceptions? On this program, SOS Ummah inshallah will make clear to you the fundamentals of eating the right food in Islam. But that's not all. We'll also share with you the findings of our research and highlight some of the misconceptions that we have in the community and try to correct them. It's time now to unite and develop a correct understanding of some of the basic laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid out for our benefit. SOS Ummah has conducted a survey of the British Muslim community. We've collected data from over 1,000 Muslims via our online website sosummah.co.uk, and we'd like to thank you for taking part, as we've now been able to put together a picture of how much the British Ummah really knows about halal food. So let's first see what the sample comprised of. We can see here there's almost an even split between brothers and sisters, and the majority of respondents were between the ages of 22 and 45. We also find that the majority of the respondents were of Asian origin, and finally 91% of the respondents said that they only eat meat that is halal. Interestingly, we found that British Muslims have a rather mixed and somewhat confused understanding regarding halal food. One such example is the method of slaughter. We asked you, what are the conditions that must be met for meat to be halal? And we gave you 12 options. That's quite a variety of answers, and at first glance they would all seem to be correct. We can see the popular answers, but even then there isn't 100% consensus on any one condition, let alone the 4 correct ones. But you may now be wondering, so what? Why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know the exact conditions? It's a fair question. After all, what is the significance of halal food, and why do we need to have any understanding about it? We decided to ask Sheikh Suhaib Hassan, the Imam at Masjid Tawheed in Leighton.
Because of the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, O believers, eat everything in the earth which is halal and which is tayyib. And we also know that if a person is eating haram, then his supplications are not accepted by Allah.
So Allah has commanded the believers to eat from what is halal and tayyib. There's no arguing with that. And if we are neglectful of this important duty, then we risk having our supplications unanswered. Then let's look at the evidence for this.
The famous hadith says that there's a traveller who makes dua, but his entire life is haram. His livelihood, his means of earning, his food and his dress. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said, أَنَّ يُسْتَجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. How could his dua be answered? So certainly eating haram and doing haram, being involved in any kind of haram, reduces the value of our dua and our salat. But in Sharia we still have to do the salat, and still have to do the du'as whenever we can, and hope they are accepted. But we should be aware that the more haram we're involved in, the more this reduces the efficiency of our salat and du'a.
One of the reasons why people's dua are going unanswered is because of the preventive factor of them not taking into consideration the important issue of whatever they are nourishing themselves with. Furthermore, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ, that whatever is halal, whatever is good for you, Allah Ta'ala makes it halal. And whatever is haram, Allah Ta'ala, it is khaba'is, it is not good for you. So halal is so important, or such of paramount importance, that a person, he could be standing and praying at night, he could be worshipping Almighty Allah Ta'ala, but because he was not considerate, did not take into consideration, and this is in the light of the hadith, that an era or a time will come where a person, he will not be bothered, whatever he is eating, whether it's from halal or haram. And this is also a hadith recorded in Bukhari.
So as you heard there, it is our responsibility to find out what is halal and haram, and not just the responsibility of the person who, for example, buys the food for the home. It has to be a combined effort. It's crucial that we take on this responsibility seriously if we are to live in accordance to Allah's Sharia and avoid the hellfire. But if we are to avoid the haram, we need to know what it is. We need to know what conditions are necessary for meat slaughter to be considered halal.
Now there are two conditions which are meant in Al-Quran, and that is that the person who is slaughtering, he should be either a Muslim or from Ahlul Kitab, meaning a Jew or a Christian. And the second condition is that the name of Allah should be mentioned at the time of slaughtering. The ayah of Surah Al-An'am 118, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا ذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ in kuntum bi ayatihi mu'minin. Eat on which the name of Allah has been mentioned, if you believe in His ayat. And then in ayah number 121, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ. Don't eat on which the name of Allah is not mentioned, because it is a fisq, it is a sin. These are the two conditions understood from the book of Allah. The other two conditions from the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ, and that is a sharp knife should be used for slaughtering, something very sharp which can kill the animal in just one stroke, or striking twice, not to give a lot of pain to the animal at the time of slaughtering. And the fourth condition is that this type of slaughtering is to be done in the throat of the animal, cutting at least cutting four things, and this is the windpipe and the food pipe and two blood veins. So that is the conditions for the four conditions for slaughtering. If one of them is missing, then this zabiha would not be halal, it would be haram.
So just to summarize, these are the requirements when performing zabiha. 1 must not sharpen the knife in front of the animal. 2, 1 must not slaughter an animal in front of another animal. 3, the slaughter must be performed by a Muslim or people of the book. 4, slaughter must be in the name of Allah or tasmiyah. 5, 1 must use a very sharp knife. 6, 4 vessels must be severed. 7, 1 must not sever the head of the animal. And 8, 1 must not skin the animal whilst it is still convulsing. So from the ayat and hadith that we have just heard, can we derive a set of clear conditions for our ummah regarding halal meat? We asked Dr. Usama Hassan.
For meat to be halal, of course, the animal has to be something which is allowed to eat, such as cows, sheep, chicken, and not pig, for example. Fish is also halal, of course. It has to be slaughtered in the name of Allah and not in the name of any other god besides Allah, so not consecrated to any other deity or idol. It has to be slaughtered cleanly with a sharp knife so that there is as much blood is drained as possible. That keeps the meat pure and wholesome. And finally, of course, the animal has to be alive before it was slaughtered. An animal which dies by itself is classed as maita, carrion, which is haram.
Going back to our survey, let us have a look at which of our respondents got closest to the correct answers. So we can see roughly 60% got all four conditions. 60%? But what are the other 40% thinking? Anyway, our viewers should now be equipped with the basic knowledge, inshallah. But is there more to Islamic food than just being halal? Let's see what you thought. We asked you what foods did you think were suitable for Muslims. Most of you said halal only, which is interesting. As mentioned earlier in the program, in all the ayat we've heard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the word tayyib.
Now, the ayah which I mentioned before, ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiban. Eat what is halal and what is tayyib. Halal and tayyib. Tayyib, actually it means something good.
But what does tayyib mean? Let's have another look at our survey. We asked you what you thought tayyib meant. Again, we gave you a number of options to choose from. The results show that 30% of you thought that tayyib meant halal, while 6% thought it meant organic. But the interesting thing is that 50% said that they don't know. Yet in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we must eat tayyib. So what is it?
Tayyib means pure and wholesome, and Allah says, Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Eat from whatever is on the earth, which is halal and tayyib. So halal is whatever is within the limits. But we often forget that it has to be tayyib as well, which means pure and wholesome and healthy. And that's why it's very important to be concerned with things like organic food, a balanced diet, fair trade, and food which is in harmony with the environment, which doesn't cause economic justice and suffering, so we don't have mass commercialized food which upsets the economic justice. All of these things actually fit into something being tayyib, but especially healthy, wholesome and pure.
But we know it from its opposite, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in Surah Al-Araf, explaining the missions of the Prophet, وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. He makes halal for them every tayyib thing, every good thing, and He makes haram every khabith thing, every evil thing, bad thing. So here it means that as far as halal is concerned, we should know it from Sharia. Sharia is going to tell us that this is halal, this is haram. We are not going to make it from our own selves. But there are so many things in the earth, how Sharia could cover all of them. But by saying that take tayyib and leave khabith, a principle is given. So the word tayyib, this term helps us to find out about so many things, whether they are halal or haram. If we found them good for your health, good for human consumption, good as far as its taste is concerned, we say it is tayyib. If that is not the case, then it becomes khabith. And if it is khabith, it becomes haram.
The other verse of the Holy Quran, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا غَنِمْتُمْ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَكُلُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا in Surah Ma'idah. All of these verses explain that tayyiba is that animal which is halal, and in addition to being halal, it must be wholesome, it must be organic, it must be very natural. And in order for it to reach the level of halalan and also tayyiban, there are certain conditions or criteria which have been set for that animal to be halal and tayyiba. Like sometimes if the animal is sacrificed, but the conditions of sacrificing the animal have not been met, it may even cause that animal to become that is harmful for a person. Even the hygiene of the animal is taken into consideration when sacrificing the animal. So really the animal which is halal and tayyiba are those types of animal which have been sacrificed according to the natural way of sacrificing the animal.
But does only meat have to be tayyib, or does this apply to vegetables as well?
And it applies to things outside meat as well, it applies to fruit and vegetables as well. كُلُوا مِمَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا. Eat from whatever is in the earth which is lawful and healthy.
Right, so tayyib applies not just to meat, but also vegetables. They both have to be tayyib and wholesome. But let's take a closer look at some of the harmful impurities that we want to avoid. In order to eat tayyib, should we be avoiding the routine use of pesticides, antibiotics and artificial growth hormones?
Well, we can't say that pesticides or preservatives make food haram because they don't. They are within the limits. But if they are harmful to the food and to the environment, to the soil, then certainly this goes against Islamic principles, because one of the major principles of Islamic law is la darar wa la dirar. There should be no harm, or following harm with more harm, or reciprocating harm. So anything which is harmful to people, animals, the environment, it's to be avoided. And one of the biggest reasons people use artificial fertilizer and pesticides and things is, of course, just to maximize the yield from the fields and just to make more and more money out of it, even if it destroys the quality of the food and destroys the soil. And that's a problem. We have to recover the sense of unity and harmony and balance with nature, and also be satisfied with fewer or smaller yields of food, as long as it's more tasty and more healthy.
When you're speaking about that which is natural, again, if you go back to the verse of the Holy Quran, where Allah Ta'ala is addressing mankind, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, washkuru ni'matallahi in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. That, O you who believe, eat from that which is tayyibat, which we have provided for you, and also be grateful to Almighty Allah Ta'ala for everything that He has given to you, if you are worshipping Him alone. And in addition, in Surah Baqarah, that Ya ayyuhan nas, kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Eat of that which is lawful and it is good, and do not follow the ways of the shaitan. He is our enemy, open enemy. These verses clearly indicate that is, after the word halal is used, it is tayyiba, which is wholesome, it is good, it is organic. So this is a clear indication and reference for anything that we eat. It has to be the natural way. The moment we start making changes and we modify it, this is going to be harmful for us.
We have to see here that whether vegetable itself, they are all halal. There is no vegetable which is haram. But again comes this question, if a certain vegetable turns into something khabith or something injurious to the life, to the human life, then and only then we will say it is khabith, so this is why it should be haram.
Does tayyib essentially mean organic then? We wanted to find out more about this, and so we decided to ask Dr. Abdul Majid Khatmi, a Muslim spokesman on medical ethics at the Islamic Medical Association. We asked him what is organic food, and is that what Muslims should be eating?
Well, organic, if you look to definition, it's pure natural food. Under food meat, which our subject, we're looking badly today for organic meat, which is related to ayat in Quran, tayyib and tayyibat, and which almost non-existent today, as we discover. Organic meat means the animal fed natural diet, is vegetarian, grass, plant, seed, etc., and free the body. Animal we eat, the meat should be the animal free from antibiotic, hormone, chemical vaccine, etc. You don't have it today, unfortunately, except with some organic farming they do today.
I recommend all our brothers and sisters to eat as much organic food as possible. I certainly try to eat as much organic as possible. And if people say, well, it costs more, well, I think we should remember that the extra that we spend on organic food is counted as sadaqah fi sabilillah, if we spend that money with the intention that this helps the environment and it's better all round for the animals. So if your weekly shopping is £50, but you buy organic food which takes it up to £60 or £70, you shouldn't worry about that and regard that extra £10 or £20 as sadaqah, for which you will be rewarded by Allah, inshallah. And we should also remember, of course, is that for centuries and in much of the less developed world, where they may not have as much money or wealth or industrialization or development, but they actually have better quality food because it is all organic. They don't have all this fertilizer and pesticides. So if you go to less developed parts of the world, you often find the fruit, the vegetables and the meat actually tastes much healthier because it is much closer to nature and it is actually organic.
Clearly, this is a very important matter for our health as well as our iman, and yet 94% of the Muslims that we surveyed did not know what tayyib was. It is a crucial Islamic ruling that the food we consume has to be halal as well as tayyib. So how and why has the Ummah almost lost the knowledge and understanding of tayyib?
We are living in this day, modern technology, and people want everything fast, like they want instant coffee and everything quick. So it seems as if though the fast way of life, where people are very used to getting things very quickly, that the lifestyle also has caused many people to become unmindful of the importance of keeping things the natural way in today's times, when there is a very high demand of, for example, meat or chickens. And now in order to meet that demand, sometimes many of the people who are business minded, their only aim is to get a large monetary gain, so they may give a lot of supply, they may able to meet the demands of the people who, that is the supply and demand, in order to supply them that amount of chickens. So therefore they will become very unmindful of the importance of halal and tayyiba. So they use many things to modify and to change, to speed up the process.
So commercialism and maybe overconsumption has led us to the stage where Muslims have become unmindful of halal and tayyib. I guess we've taken it for granted that if a shop displays a halal sign, then it has fulfilled all the Islamic obligations for food. Clearly this is not the case, as the tayyib requirement is often overlooked. But is there more to this?
The government say, Farm Animal Welfare Council, 33% of the chicken die before you put a knife. 33% of chicken, most chicken in Britain, Muslim. Not only Wales, they're doing machine slaughter, which is also not accepted as halal in Britain. So you're eating meat without chicken. Some meat, mean dead. Mentioned in the Quran, meat forbidden to eat it. And at least, ulama say, shubha, all the chicken slaughtered. How would I know this died? Nobody chicken eats animal because they compete. They want to do 10,000, 12,000 per hour. All fast industry in halal meat, fast food industry, fast junk industry, everything fast today for fast money.
We've become extremely obsessed with the actual mechanical ritual example. And I've forgotten the wider picture, which is what is represented by tayyib, which is the spirit behind it. The spirit behind it is that even animals we eat, we have to look after them. They are creatures of God, which are subservient to us. So the Prophet ﷺ said, treat the animals well, sharpen the knife before slaughtering them. Do not slaughter them in front of others. Give them some water and grass, some fodder to eat before you slaughter. All of this is part of ihsan, excellence, and of looking at tayyib food. And this applies to organic and other types of food.
That's very interesting, but to have an Islamic benefit and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses pure food is wonderful, mashallah. That's a lot of information to take in, so here's a quick summary. We must ensure the following when buying any fruit, vegetable and meat. That it is first and foremost halal and tayyib. Then for vegetables to be tayyib, they must be grown naturally without the use of any pesticides, antibiotics or growth hormones. And the farming must not be harmful to the environment. For animals to be tayyib, they must be fed natural food and taken care of by giving them a healthy and comfortable upbringing. For meat to be halal, the animal must be permissible to eat. It has to be alive before slaughter. The meat has to be killed in the name of Allah, and there should be maximum blood drainage. For slaughtering to be halal, one must ensure the animal is well fed, watered and kept comfortable. A sharp knife must be used to cut only the main vessels, and the animal must not see other animals being slaughtered.